Arise. To arise is to happen.
Difficulties arose with his computer because it was old.
Benefactor. A benefactor is a person who gives money to help someone.
The student's benefactor gave him money to spend on his studies.
Blacksmith. A blacksmith is a person who makes things out of metal.
The blacksmith pounded the piece of metal until it was flat.
Charitable. When someone is charitable, they help people who are in need.
My sister was charitable enough to help me buy my first house.
Chimney. A chimney is a tall pipe used to carry smoke out of a building.
The cat was on the roof sitting next to the chimney.
Compensate. To compensate is to pay someone for the time they spent doing something.
Her boss compensated her for the extra work she did last week.
Encounter. If you encounter something, you meet or come close to it.
I encountered a sea turtle while I was swimming.
Exceed. To exceed is to be more than something.
Since I exceeded my limit, I decided to get rid of my credit cards.
Forge. To forge is to make or produce, especially with difficulty.
Stacy and Heather forged their friendship when they were teenagers.
Humble. People who are humble do not believe that they are better than other people.
Even though Bob is the smartest boy in his class, he is humble.
Iron. Iron is a strong metal that is used to make many objects.
The horse had shoes made of iron.
Ladder. A ladder is an object that is used to climb up and down things.
He used a ladder to climb to the top of his treehouse.
Modest. If people are modest, they do not think that they are too important.
Derek is very modest for someone who is so rich.
Occupy. To occupy a place is to live, work, or be there.
Kevin and Alice occupied the chairs and had a long discussion.
Penny. A penny is a coin worth 1 cent.
U.S. President Abraham Lincoln is on the penny.
Preach. To preach is to talk about and promote a religious idea.
Aaron often preached about living an honest life.
Prosper. To prosper is to be successful or make a lot of money.
Frank's new business finally prospered after many years of hard work.
Province. A province is a small area that is controlled by a country.
Canada is divided into several different provinces.
Satisfaction. Satisfaction is a feeling you get when you do or receive something good.
Brad was filled with satisfaction when he saw what was for dinner.
Sustain. To sustain something is to keep it going.
Wind power is a clean way to sustain a city with energy.
Acquire. To acquire something is to gain possession of it.
Tina acquired a strange package yesterday.
Awkward. If something is awkward, it is embarrassing and uncomfortable.
After dropping his coffee cup, Robbie felt awkward.
Caretaker. A caretaker is a person who takes care of very young, old, or sick people.
My grandmother's caretaker helps her get around the house.
Deceive. To deceive someone is to make them believe something that is not true.
He tried to deceive his friends as they were playing a game.
Discourage. To discourage someone is to make them feel less excited about something.
Mr. Perry discouraged the students from quitting school.
Fake. If something is fake, it is made to look real in order to trick people.
The model was wearing fake eyelashes.
Hatred. Hatred is a strong feeling of not liking someone or something.
I have a hatred for the taste of medicine.
Hut. A hut is a house made of wood, grass, or mud that has only 1 or 2 rooms.
We all went into the hut to sleep.
Inferior. If something is inferior, it is not as good as something else.
Cars built 100 years ago are inferior to ones built today.
Lodge. A lodge is a house in the mountains, used by people who hunt or fish.
During our ski trip, we stayed at a lodge.
Neglect. To neglect someone or something is to not take care of it properly.
William neglected his room, so it is a complete mess.
Newcomer. A newcomer is a person who has recently arrived at a place or a group.
The students happily welcomed the newcomer to the school.
Offense. An offense is behavior that is wrong or breaks a law.
Stealing a car is a very serious offense.
Overlook. To overlook something is to not notice it or to not realize that it is important.
Brenda overlooked the last step and had a bad fall.
Repay. To repay is to pay back or to reward someone or something.
She repaid her friend for all of his hard work with a small gift.
Ridiculous. If something is ridiculous, it is silly or strange.
Steve looked ridiculous with those huge blue sunglasses.
Satisfactory. If something is satisfactory, it is good enough.
Mina often received satisfactory grades since she studied so hard.
Shepherd. A shepherd is a person who protects and cares for sheep.
The shepherd moved the sheep to another field.
Venture. To venture is to go to a place that may be dangerous.
Even though it was dangerous, they ventured up the mountain.
Wheat. Wheat is a plant which makes grain. Wheat grain is used to make bread.
The field of golden wheat was ready to be harvested.
Alley. An alley is a narrow road behind houses or buildings.
The alley behind my house looks dirty.
Bunch. A bunch is a group of the same things.
She was hungry, so she ate the entire bunch of grapes.
Chore. A chore is a job that you have to do but don't like.
It's Nikki's chore to do the dishes every Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Decent. When something is decent, it is okay or good enough.
Eric did a decent job painting the fence.
Disgrace. Disgrace is a feeling of shame.
He felt a sense of disgrace after failing his big exam.
Elbow. The elbow is the middle part of a person's arm that lets you bend it.
She pointed to her elbow to show me where she hurt herself.
Grateful. When you are grateful for something, you are happy that it happened.
The girls were grateful to have a chance to spend time with their grandfather.
Irritate. To irritate means to annoy someone.
She was irritated when her brother told her that he had lost her camera.
Kid. To kid is to make a joke to make someone believe something which is not true.
I'm not really mad. I was kidding when I said I was angry.
Loose. When something is loose, it is not held in place well.
The bolt was loose, so I tightened it with the wrench.
Offend. To offend someone means to make them angry or upset.
They were both offended by what they had said to each other.
Overnight. When something happens overnight, it happens during the night.
The campers stayed in the tent overnight.
Persist. To persist means to keep doing something even when it is hard.
Even though the lesson was difficult, he persisted until he understood.
Pine. A pine is a type of tree that is tall and thin.
There were many beautiful pine trees in the forest.
Scar. A scar is a mark on the skin after a wound heals.
The monster had horrible scars on his cheek and forehead.
Sensation. A sensation is a feeling a person gets from their senses.
Mom got a painful sensation in her head from the loud noise.
Sled. A sled is a small vehicle that you use on snow.
Marvin likes to ride his sled down the hill in winter.
Tease. To tease someone means to laugh at or make fun of them.
Jake teased Charlie because he was the new student.
Valentine. A Valentine is someone you love or admire with great affection.
Harry wanted Molly to be his Valentine.
Bloom. When a plant blooms, it makes flowers.
Roses look so pretty when they bloom.
Compact. If something is compact, it is smaller than normal.
A laptop computer is much more compact than a desktop model.
Curl. A curl is a small piece of something with a round shape.
The colorful ribbons were bent into curls.
Decay. To decay is to be destroyed naturally.
The old wooden house was slowly decaying.
Dessert. Dessert is a sweet food that you eat after a meal.
Kayla wants ice cream for dessert.
Dip. To dip something is to put part of it into a liquid for a short time.
Laurel dipped her strawberry into the chocolate.
Distant. If something is distant, it is far away.
Michael could barely see the distant island.
Eclipse. An eclipse is an occasion when the moon moves in front of the sun.
A complete eclipse of the sun is a very rare occurrence.
Fairy. A fairy is a small magic creature with wings.
There are usually fairies in fantasy stories.
Grace. Grace is a quality of moving in a smooth, relaxed, and attractive way.
The ballerina danced with grace.
Leisure. Leisure is time when you do not have to do work.
Eve likes to listen to music in her leisure time.
Mankind. Mankind is all of the world's people.
All of mankind has to work to make this a better world.
Passion. Passion is a very strong feeling of wanting to do something.
She had a passion for dancing.
Pillow. A pillow is something that you put your head on when you sleep.
When I travel, I usually take along my favorite pillow.
Pulse. A pulse is the beat of the heart.
The doctor checked the patient's pulse by feeling his wrist.
Refresh. To refresh someone is to make them feel less hot or tired.
The baby was refreshed after taking a cool bath.
Sneeze. To sneeze is to suddenly blow air out of your nose and mouth.
He sneezed after smelling the flower.
Spice. A spice is a flavor for food and drinks.
Two common spices found in many homes are salt and pepper.
Whistle. To whistle is to make a sound by putting your lips together and blowing.
As he was listening to music, Darryl whistled.
Wool. Wool is the hair that a sheep has.
Grandma wants to use the blue wool to knit me a sweater.
Acquaint. To acquaint is to get to know something or someone.
Nancy acquainted herself with the new computer.
Cemetery. A cemetery is where people are buried when they die.
Some people are scared of cemeteries.
Curse. To curse someone or something is to hope that bad things happen to them.
The witch cursed the village.
Disguise. A disguise is something you wear so people cannot tell who you are.
Everyone knew that it was Dad in the Santa disguise.
Fancy. If something is fancy, it is nicer than normal.
Their table was all set for a fancy dinner.
Flashlight. A flashlight is a small electric light that you carry in your hand.
We took a flashlight when we went camping.
Hood. A hood is part of a coat that goes over your head.
She put on her hood to keep her head warm.
Inhabitant. An inhabitant is a person who lives in a certain place.
The number of inhabitants in the countryside is increasing.
To nourish something is to give it food that it needs to live.
A good mother will nourish her baby every day.
Pirate. A pirate is a sailor who steals things from other boats.
Pirates are very scary characters.
Publication. A publication is something printed, like a newspaper or book.
She's been a subscriber to that publication for over 10 years.
Riddle. A riddle is a question that is difficult to answer but meant to be funny.
I could not answer Wendy's riddle, but it made me laugh.
Rot. When something rots, it slowly gets softer and is destroyed.
The old log began to rot in the forest.
Scare. To scare someone is to make them feel afraid.
My uncle was scared by what he saw in the room.
Shortly. If something will happen shortly, it will happen very soon.
My workday will end shortly.
Skeleton. A skeleton is the bones of a body.
There was a skeleton in the science classroom.
Spoil. If something spoils, it turns bad or rots.
We left the fruit out too long and it spoiled.
Starve. If a person starves, they do not get enough to eat and sometimes die.
During the war, many people starved.
Thrill. A thrill is an exciting feeling.
The boys enjoy the thrill of surfing a big wave.
Wicked. If something is wicked, it is very bad or evil.
My boss is a very wicked man.
Alert. To alert someone is to tell or warn them about something.
The fire alarm alerted us that there was a problem.
Broadcast. A broadcast is a television or radio show.
We watched the broadcast of the local news on TV.
Bulletin. A bulletin is a news report that talks about very recent and important events.
There was a live bulletin reporting on the economy of the city.
Bump. A bump is a small raised area on a surface.
The monkey got a bump on his head because he was hit by a rock.
Chop. To chop something means to cut it into pieces with a tool.
Mom chopped some vegetables to put into the stew.
Closet. A closet is a small room used to store things.
Marie has many clothes inside of her closet.
Console. To console someone who is sad means to make them comforted.
When my dog ran away, my dad consoled me.
District. A district is a small part of a city, county, state, or country.
I live in a residential district of Seattle, Washington.
Drawer. A drawer is a small part in furniture that is used to store things.
I put my clothes into the empty drawers.
Endure. To endure something tough means to do or go through it.
She had to endure her husband shouting all day long.
Execute. To execute someone means to kill them as a legal punishment.
Some people are executed for serious crimes.
Grasp. To grasp something means to hold it.
He grasped the bag of money tightly.
Rear. When something is in the rear of something, it is in the back.
The man loaded the rear of his truck with boxes.
Senator. A senator is someone who makes laws for a state.
The young senator promised to make laws that would help the people.
Skull. A skull is the hard part of your head. Your brain is inside of it.
The brain is protected by the skull.
Stir. To stir something means to mix it using something small, like a spoon.
Mom stirred the batter until it was smooth.
Tap. To tap something is to hit it lightly.
He tapped the keys of the keyboard to write a short word.
Tremendous. When something is tremendous, it is very large.
The Earth's oceans are filled with a tremendous amount of water.
Underneath. When something is underneath something else, it is below or lower than it.
The roots of a tree are located underneath the ground.
Worm. A worm is a small animal with a long, thin body.
Worms are often used to help catch fish.
Abandon. To abandon something is to leave it forever or for a long time.
The old room had been abandoned years before.
Ambitious. If someone is ambitious, they want to be rich or successful.
Kendra had to be ambitious to get into medical school.
Bark. When a dog barks, it makes a short, loud noise.
The dog barked loudly and frighteningly.
Bay. A bay is an area near the ocean where the land goes inward.
The Golden Gate Bridge crosses San Francisco Bay.
Brilliant. If someone is brilliant, they are very smart.
My younger sister is brilliant for someone her age.
Chin. Your chin is the hard part at the bottom of your face.
Luke pointed to the hair on his chin.
Complaint. A complaint is something you say to tell people that you don't like something.
Mom said she didn't want to hear my brother's complaints.
Deaf. When someone is deaf, they cannot hear.
Susan was born deaf.
Enthusiastic. To be enthusiastic about something is to be excited by or interested in it.
The man was enthusiastic about his job.
Expedition. An expedition is a long trip, usually to a place very far away.
They got into their spaceship to begin their expedition.
Horizon. The horizon is where the sky looks like it meets the ground.
The sun dipped below the horizon.
Loyal. To be loyal to something or someone is to agree to always help them.
The three friends are very loyal to each other.
Mayor. The mayor is the person in charge of a city.
The mayor of my hometown is quite a powerful speaker.
Mutual. If something is mutual, it is felt in the same way by two or more people.
Robert likes Sarah. The feeling is mutual.
Overweight. If someone is overweight, they are very fat.
Roger eats too much, so now he's overweight.
Refuge. A refuge is a place where you go to be safe.
When it started to rain, she found refuge in the house.
Restore. To restore something is to put it back the way it was.
Victor restored the old car.
Rub. To rub something is to push on it and move your hand back and forth.
Mom's feet were sore, so she rubbed them.
Senses. Your senses are how you see, taste, hear, feel, and smell.
It would be hard to live without your five senses.
Veterinarian. A veterinarian is a doctor that takes care of animals.
Wanda became a veterinarian because she loves dogs.
Anniversary. An anniversary is a day that celebrates something from the past.
My parents went out to eat for their wedding anniversary.
Arithmetic. Arithmetic is math.
I like to study arithmetic at school.
Ashamed. To be ashamed is to feel upset because you did something wrong or bad.
He was ashamed when he found out that I knew about his past.
Burst. To burst is to suddenly break open or apart.
The bomb burst over the city.
Carpenter. A carpenter is a person who builds things with wood.
We hired a carpenter to make a cupboard.
Coal. Coal is a hard black rock that you burn for heat.
Many power stations burn coal to produce energy.
Couch. A couch is a long, soft seat that many people can sit on.
Kim and Martin's new couch was very expensive.
Drip. When a liquid drips, just a little bit falls at a time.
I heard water dripping from the faucet.
Elegant. If something is elegant, it is very fancy and pleasing.
In Japan, women wear elegant kimonos on special occasions.
Fabric. Fabric is cloth used to make clothes, furniture, etc.
The towels were made from a soft fabric.
Highlands. The highlands are high areas of land, usually with mountains.
The man had a small home in the highlands.
Ivory. Ivory is a white, hard substance that comes from elephants.
The elephant's long ivory tusks looked very impressive.
Mill. A mill is a building where flour is made.
The farmer took his wheat to the mill to make it into flour.
Needle. A needle is a small, sharp piece of metal that you use to make or fix clothes.
I used a needle to fix the hole in my pants.
Polish. To polish something is to rub it in order to make it shiny.
Mark spent all morning polishing his shoes for the wedding.
Sew. To sew means to put pieces of cloth together using string.
I learned to sew when I was a little girl.
Shed. A shed is a small building where you store things like tools.
We have a small shed in the backyard for storage.
Thread. A thread is a thin piece of string.
I have many different colors of thread at home.
Trim. To trim something is to cut it a little bit.
I had my hair trimmed this afternoon.
Upwards. If something goes upwards, it moves vertically higher.
The kite went upwards further and further.
Ail. To ail a person or group is to cause difficulty or pain.
My brother went to the doctor to see what was ailing him.
Ally. An ally is someone who agrees to help or support you.
I was happy to find many allies who shared the same opinion as me.
Boast. To boast is to talk about how good you are.
We all became tired of listening to him boast about himself all day.
Bounce. To bounce is to move something up and away from a surface after hitting it.
Owen bounced the ball on the ground.
Bully. A bully is a person who is mean to others.
The two bullies always picked on the smaller, weaker kids.
Carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are substances in foods like bread that give you energy.
Carbohydrates like rice are a good source of energy for active people.
Crawl. To crawl is to move slowly on your hands and knees.
The baby crawled across the floor.
Defeat. To defeat someone is to beat them in a game or battle.
The champion defeated the challenger in the boxing match.
Dial. A dial is the front of a clock.
I looked at the dial to see what time it was.
Dominant. When someone or something is dominant, they are stronger than others.
The gorilla is one of the dominant animals in the jungle.
Mercy. If you show mercy, you choose not to punish or harm someone.
He asked his boss for mercy and to not fire him.
Nod. To nod is to move your head up and down.
I nodded my head as I listened to the song.
Opponent. An opponent is someone who fights against you.
On the field, our opponents were too good for us.
Rival. A rival is someone that is trying to keep you from getting what you want.
The three rivals were all competing for the same job.
Sore. When a part of your body is sore, it hurts.
After lifting the heavy box, Mona's back was sore.
Sting. To sting is to cause pain by pushing a sharp part into the skin.
The needle stung my arm and made me say ouch.
Strain. To strain is to try very hard.
Casey strained to lift the heavy box.
Torture. Torture is something that causes you physical or mental pain.
Greg thought that writing the essay was torture.
Wrestle. To wrestle is to play a game where you try to push someone to the floor.
My dad loved to wrestle when he was in high school.
Quarrel. To quarrel is to argue or fight.
Billy quarreled with his wife about buying a new house.
Absence. Absence is the state of something being away.
There is an absence of sand in the hourglass.
Aloud. If you say something aloud, you say it so that others can hear you.
My father often reads stories aloud to me and my sister.
Bald. If someone is bald, they have no hair.
My oldest brother is bald.
Blanket. A blanket is a piece of cloth that you use to keep warm or to sit upon.
I laid a blanket on the ground so that we could have a picnic.
Creep. To creep is to move quietly and slowly.
The cat slowly crept down the tree.
Divorce. Divorce is an event in which a marriage is ended.
Divorce rates have increased in the past 20 years.
Imitate. To imitate someone is to do exactly what they do.
He imitated his favorite superhero by putting on a costume.
Infant. An infant is a baby.
The infant cried all night.
Kidnap. To kidnap someone is to take them illegally.
She was terrified to find out her son was kidnapped.
Nap. A nap is a short sleep, usually during the day.
I took a short nap because I stayed up late last night.
Nowhere. You use nowhere to say that a place or thing does not exist.
Unfortunately, water was nowhere to be found.
Pat. To pat something is to hit it softly with your hand.
I patted some lotion onto my face.
Relief. Relief is a feeling you get when something bad or challenging ends.
I felt a sense of relief when I heard the good news.
Reproduce. To reproduce is to make something exactly how someone else did it.
The children tried to reproduce their house using toy blocks.
Rhyme. To rhyme is to have the same sounds at the end of a word.
Humpty Dumpty is an old rhyme that children learn in school.
Suck. To suck is to put something in your mouth and try to get flavor out of it.
The baby sucked milk from her bottle.
Urgent. If something is urgent, it is important and needs to be done now.
He had to leave now. It was urgent.
Vanish. To vanish is to go away suddenly.
All the passengers vanished from the train station.
Wagon. A wagon is a cart you use to carry heavy things.
He used his wagon to carry some of his gifts.
Wrinkle. A wrinkle is a line on a person's face that happens as they get old.
My grandfather has some wrinkles on his face.
Abnormal. If something is abnormal, it is strange or not normal.
Her idea of art is a bit too abnormal for me.
Bamboo. Bamboo is a hard plant with thin branches and leaves.
Outside his home, there's a lot of bamboo.
Blossom. A blossom is a flower or group of flowers.
There were colorful blossoms in the yard.
Compass. A compass is a device used to tell what direction one is going.
A compass is an important tool to have when you are traveling.
Dialect. A dialect is a regional variety of language showing where you are from.
People from the UK have a different dialect of English from those in the US.
Dishonest. If someone is dishonest, they do not tell the truth.
She was being dishonest when she copied the answers from his test.
Dwarf. A dwarf is a creature from stories that often looks like a short, hairy man.
The dwarf had a pleasant look on his face.
Ecosystem. An ecosystem is a group of plants and animals in an area.
The river's ecosystem not only includes fish, but other insects and plants too.
Fatal. If something is fatal, it causes death.
They passed away in a fatal car crash.
Impatient. If someone is impatient, they are not able to wait for things.
Bob was so impatient that he could barely wait for the light to turn green.
Leaf. A leaf is the flat green thing on trees or bushes.
In the fall, the leaves on the trees change colors.
Manuscript. A manuscript is an old book or paper written by hand.
The manuscript was written over 150 years ago.
Marsh. A marsh is a type of wet land covered with grasses and short plants.
The marsh looked so lovely against the mountains.
Patience. Patience is the ability to wait for something without becoming upset.
Sue's patience was rewarded by catching her very first fish.
Perfume. Perfume is a good-smelling liquid that girls wear.
When she wore her perfume, everyone said she smelled great.
Pond. A pond is a very small area of water.
The ducks swam in the pond.
Proverb. A proverb is a short saying that tells you something important.
The proverb, egg on your face, means you've done something embarrassing.
Pursuit. A pursuit is a chase.
The dinosaur was in pursuit of the caveman.
Recite. To recite something means to repeat or say aloud in front of a group.
Katie recited the Pledge of Allegiance in class.
Wilderness. A wilderness is an area where no people live.
If you are not careful, you can get lost in the wilderness.
Anticipate. To anticipate something is to think that it will happen.
Carrie anticipated the arrival of her baby.
Barrel. A barrel is a round thing that you can keep liquids in.
There was an empty barrel outside the house.
Beam. A beam is a heavy bar.
Modern skyscrapers are made with several beams.
Casual. If something is casual, it is relaxed or simple.
You can wear casual clothes to the party like jeans.
Caution. Caution is care and attention in order to avoid danger.
Please use the power saw with caution. It is very dangerous.
Contrary. If something is contrary to something else, it is the opposite.
It isn't warm outside at all. On the contrary, it is quite cold.
Deliberate. If you are deliberate, you do something on purpose.
Bernie made a deliberate attempt to injure Andy.
Dissolve. To dissolve something is to mix it into a liquid and disappear.
I dissolved the pill in a glass of water.
Explode. When something explodes, it blows up.
My new radio exploded when I plugged it in.
Fasten. To fasten something is to close it or put it in the correct place.
Elizabeth fastened her seatbelt.
Germ. A germ is something that makes you sick.
Germs are on everything that you touch.
Kit. A kit is a set of all the things needed to do something.
Is there a first aid kit in your office?
Puff. A puff is a little bit of smoke or steam.
A puff of smoke came from the burnt match.
Rag. A rag is a small towel.
Please use a rag to clean the dust off the table.
Scatter. To scatter something is to make it go in many places.
I accidentally scattered all of my pills.
Scent. A scent is a smell.
Julie enjoyed the scent of the flowers.
Steel. Steel is a shiny gray metal.
The new apartment building was made with steel.
Swift. If something is swift, it is fast.
The swift horse easily jumped over the hurdle.
Toss. If you toss something, you throw it softly.
He tossed a coin into the air.
Triumph. Triumph is what you feel when you win or finish something.
He raised the award in triumph at the end of his speech.
Aboard. When someone is aboard a ship or plane, they are on or in it.
They climbed aboard the kayak and paddled through the river.
Bitter. When a person is bitter, they are upset with someone or a situation.
He was extremely bitter when his computer crashed.
Bullet. A bullet is a small metal object that is shot out of guns.
Bullets come in different sizes for different guns.
Devil. The devil is a powerful evil spirit in some religions.
The church promised protection from the devil.
Drift. To drift means to be moved slowly by wind or water.
The large chunk of ice drifted in the water.
Enforce. To enforce means to make a person follow a rule.
Police enforce traffic laws to keep everyone safe.
Fountain. A fountain is a source of water made by people.
There was a beautiful fountain in the middle of the park.
Harbor. A harbor is an area of water along a shore where boats land.
There were a few small boats in the harbor.
Inhabit. To inhabit means to live in a certain place.
No one inhabits the ancient city.
March. To march means to walk at a steady pace together with others.
The soldiers marched in straight rows.
Millionaire. A millionaire is a person who has at least $1 million.
He became a millionaire because he was smart with his money.
Port. A port is a place where ships stop to load and unload things.
The ship was being loaded with materials at the port.
Sheriff. A sheriff is a police officer who is in charge of a large area.
It was the sheriff's job to make the city safe.
Startle. To startle means to scare someone suddenly.
The loud crash startled the sleeping woman.
Sweat. To sweat means to lose liquid from the body through the skin.
Whenever I work out, I sweat quite a bit.
Trigger. A trigger is the part of the gun that a person pulls to make it fire.
The man had his finger on the trigger of the gun.
Unify. To unify means to bring people or things together.
With their good deeds, the children tried to unify the world.
Vessel. A vessel is a large ship or boat.
We toured the area aboard a luxury vessel.
Voyage. A voyage is a long journey made on a boat or an aircraft.
The astronauts took off on a long voyage to the moon.
Worship. To worship means to like and honor a person, thing, or religious figure.
Many people around the world worship in a church.
Apprentice. An apprentice is a person who learns how to do a job from a skilled person.
Mark is an apprentice chef at the restaurant.
Assure. To assure someone is to tell them something is true to make them less worried.
He assured the boss that the building would be done on time.
Bandage. A bandage is a piece of cloth used to stop bleeding.
If you cut yourself, please get a bandage from the first aid kit.
Bleed. To bleed is to lose blood.
If you are not careful, you will cut your finger and bleed.
Bond. To bond with someone is to become friends with them.
The women bonded after several hours of conversation.
Chef. A chef is a person who cooks in a restaurant.
Tom is a chef at the restaurant near my house.
Crown. A crown is the hat worn by a king or queen.
The crown is made of gold.
Departure. A departure is the act of leaving a place.
They were excited about their departure back home.
Diligent. If someone is diligent, they work hard and are careful.
Craig has always been a very diligent person at work.
Emperor. An emperor is the leader of a group of countries.
The Emperor Julius Caesar was in control of ancient Rome.
Fiber. Fiber is a thread of a substance used to make clothes or rope.
The mat was made from tiny fibers.
Horrible. If something is horrible, it is very bad.
The assignment was horrible. I hated it.
Impolite. If someone is impolite, they are rude.
Roger is impolite to everyone he meets.
Kneel. To kneel is to put one or both knees on the ground.
Daryl got down on one knee and asked Nina to marry him.
Luxury. A luxury is an expensive thing that you do not need.
We stayed at a luxury resort for our honeymoon.
Massive. If something is massive, it is very big.
The wheels on his truck were massive.
Panic. To panic is to feel so nervous or afraid that you cannot think clearly.
Everyone panicked when the house caught on fire.
Priority. A priority is something that is more important than other things.
My priority is to get good grades in school.
Robe. A robe is a long, loose piece of clothing.
Many people wear robes in the morning.
Scold. To scold means to criticize one angrily because they have done wrong.
Jessie was scolded by the teacher for not paying attention.
Affair. An affair is an event or a thing that happened.
My wife and I attended a formal affair over the weekend.
Assembly. An assembly is a group that is together for the same reason.
The students had an assembly to talk about their interests.
Bless. To bless is to ask God for protection or help.
The angel blessed the newborn baby to keep it safe.
Cereal. Cereal is a food that you mix with milk and eat for breakfast.
Cereal is a fast and common breakfast food enjoyed in the U.S.
Cheerful. If someone is cheerful, they are happy or feel good.
The children were cheerful because they didn't have to go to school.
Diameter. The diameter of a round thing is the length across its center.
The diameter of the tree was about 22 centimeters.
Exploit. To exploit something is to use it for greedy reasons rather than good reasons.
The company exploits their workers and makes them stay 12 hours a day.
Famine. A famine is a long time with little or no food.
The farmers couldn't grow any food on the dry soil, so there was a famine.
Harvest. A harvest is the act of collecting food from farming.
They had a lot of wheat from the last harvest.
Merry. If someone is merry, they are very happy.
They felt merry because the weather was great.
Nut. A nut is a hard seed or fruit that comes from some trees and bushes.
To eat a nut, first you have to crack its shell.
Pardon. To pardon is a way to ask someone to repeat what was said before.
Pardon me, teacher, but could you repeat what you just said?
Pharaoh. A pharaoh was a king in ancient Egypt.
The pharaohs ruled Egypt for thousands of years.
Ripe. When a fruit is ripe, it is ready to be eaten.
The cherries were nice and ripe.
Roast. To roast something is to cook it in an oven or over a fire.
Mom roasted a turkey for the holiday dinner.
Routine. A routine is a way of doing things that is the same every time.
My father's daily routine includes shaving right before breakfast.
Scheme. A scheme is a plan or design.
Mickey and Minnie came up with a scheme to solve the problem.
Slim. If something or someone is slim, they are thin.
Look at my new cell phone. It's very slim.
Stove. A stove is a device used to cook food.
Our new stove helps us to cook food much faster than before.
Theft. A theft is a criminal act that involves someone stealing something.
The theft of his TV took place when he was at work.
Adolescent. An adolescent is a young person or a teenager.
The adolescent was excited about getting a skateboard for his birthday.